Hey guys, so today's video is a complete summary of the Kardashian versus Blac Chyna lawsuit just happening now, and it has actually just come to an end, which is why I'm filming this. I was kind of waiting to see how things would progress, and I was gonna film the video anyway even if it didn't end, but I just didn't want to make a bunch of small videos with tiny updates. I wanted like solid summaries so it's easy to consume. You don't have to like catch up with all the videos. So actually, right before I went to film this video, it's come to an end. So I've just added this onto the end of my planning, and I can turn this into one video instead of two videos. This would have been so annoying if I had like filmed all of this and then at the end I go, well, this is the ending, just like in a separate video. That would have been so annoying to me. Before I get into the video, subscribe, hit that bell, like, comment for engagement. If you engage with this video, it goes further, it gets pushed out. So leave a comment about anything that you want to leave a comment about, and make sure you thumbs up. It is so important. But also I have a podcast episode up that I posted yesterday, so if you guys want to catch up on my podcast, do that. Let's just get into this. So the Kardashians, but only a few of them, have been sued by Blac Chyna. Now I'm going to get into like all the back end situations. So Blac Chyna has a child with Rob Kardashian, who is obviously one of the Kardashians, and Tyga, who is Kylie Jenner's ex-boyfriend. So she's a model, reality star, that's Instagram, kind of like a socialite, you could say. She also had a show with E, the way Kardashians have. So E is one of the biggest networks for reality TV, and Kardashians were known for having Keeping Up with the Kardashians on E. And then she had a show called Rob and Chyna on E that only had one season. It got cancelled allegedly because of the Kardashians, and that is what this lawsuit is genuinely about. I'm gonna get into that in a minute. And then she was recently called out by both Rob and Tyga for lying about them and how much they're paying for parental support. So essentially she put out this tweet saying how she's had to sell cars, like these sports cars that she had, because Rob and Tyga are not paying her child support. And now they both came out and said that she essentially only has the kids for 1 to 2 days a week, and they cover all expenses, aka medical, private school, which is $40,000 a year, I'm pretty sure they said. So essentially people are like, why would you want parental support when you're not even the majority like custody person when it comes to having the kids at your house? Like, they clearly have the kids for longer during the week, so if anyone's getting parental support, it should be them getting parental support from you rather than the other way around, because they have the kids for majority of the week. So rent, food, bills, etc. kind of fall on both Tyga and Rob rather than on Blac Chyna. Blac Chyna also recently was called out. I actually genuinely forgot this, but I was looking through, Blac Chyna's history just to see what kind of like people would think going into this trial. I'm honestly not biased either way. I'm not a huge obsessed fan of the Kardashians. I'm also not a huge fan of Blac Chyna. I think she's done some messed up things, but so have the Kardashians. So either way, I'm just going to tell you guys the facts and like tell you guys the background information without giving too many opinions, because I just don't really have any of those. But Blac Chyna was recently called out for holding a girl hostage at a party, and it was like a drug bender party. There was a lot of drug situations going on. The girl was then held hostage, had to call her friend to pick her up, and there was a very distressing video of the girl trying to escape the room and having to have a male friend come in and try to get her out, and Blac Chyna getting very aggressive and violent towards both the girl and the guy coming in to save her, and it was over some drugs. So she's suing only Kris, Khloe, Kylie, and Kim. And actually, a few days into the trials, Kim was completely dismissed, and it was just Kris, Khloe, and Kylie from what I saw. It's very difficult though, because the trial wasn't filmed. There were no cameras allowed inside the court. We only have sketches, and you can quite clearly tell that the sketch artist doesn't really like the Kardashians. So we have these sketches where they look botched. Blac Chyna actually looks really good in the sketches, so clearly there is a little bit of like sketch bias there, but these sketches are terrifying. So background on the Kardashians. They say that Blac Chyna is aggressive. They've been saying that for a while now. She held a gun to Rob Kardashian. She was choking him with a charger, like an Apple cord. She threatened to kill Kylie Jenner when Kylie Jenner started dating Tyga. And that's a whole separate issue of Tyga being 24 and Kylie being 16 when they started dating. She also became a stepmom to Tyga's child. And then once Tyga and Kylie split up and Blac Chyna and Rob got together, she became an auntie to the same child that she was the stepmom of. This is a very confusing situation, but this is what happens when you start changing, you start sharing men and something should not be kept in the family. Because then it gets confusing, because once you're a stepmom and then you're an auntie and then, it's a lot. It's a lot. She also had a restraining order against Rob Kardashian because he released revenge porn, a fully nude picture of her, which is obviously messed up, completely messed up. And she had a restraining order for that, which now people are linking back to why Rob and Chyna, the show, was cancelled for season 2. Not because the Kardashians had some involvement, but because she had a restraining order. And that would be very difficult to film because it's called Rob and Chyna has a restraining order against Rob. So then you can't film Rob and Chyna, you know? It could only be Chyna or it can only be Rob. Allegedly, the show also just wasn't a hit. Like, it was fine, but it wasn't something that they needed to keep on the platform, mainly because she was allegedly being paid over $90,000 per episode. It was very expensive for them to keep up a show that wasn't a hit, allegedly. Judge asked for clips of season 2 because allegedly there is more toxicity and violence between them, just to decide why they wouldn't have gone through with it. Maybe it was because of the aggression, the violence between them, like it just wouldn't have been a good watch. Then we get into the trial, which there were only a few days of the trial. It's a $300 million lawsuit. So it's a jury trial as well, so we get just regular people, and apparently the jury selection was very difficult because most people have an opinion on the Kardashians or Blac Chyna. They're very prominent figures in modern day social media. So it was very difficult, and it was actually kind of hurtful. I want to talk about that for a minute. You know, we can say what we want about the Kardashians, everything they do, good or bad or neutral. What I never like to talk about is Kim Kardashian's sex tape, because I feel like that becomes a very misogynistic conversation to have. You know, the jokes about Kris Jenner releasing it, funny, ha ha ha, but at the same time, it can happen to anyone. Many celebrities have gone through this, and mainly with the recent resurgence of the story of Pamela Anderson and Tommy Lee, how misogynistic everyone was against her, and it led to the point where she had a miscarriage due to the stress, and people still thought that she released it on purpose. I just hate to talk about celebrity sex tapes unless, like, both parties have said we've released this consensually. But until both parties say that, I just refuse to talk about it. I think it's a disgusting conversation to have. I think it's misogynistic. So during jury selection, one of the men said that he has seen Kim Kardashian's sex tape and will not essentially be able to look at her objectively because of the sex tape. If I haven't heard a misogynistic statement so far, this is one. Here it is, my misogynistic statement of the day. Wow, I've seen this woman have sex, so I cannot look at her as like an objective human being. I will not have respect for her, actually. Men, you know? Anyway, so a lot of people shaded the Kardashians. Some of them just basically said, oh, I just don't like them, so I'm not going to be objective, and I shouldn't be picked as jury. Completely fine. If you don't like the Kardashians, perfectly fine. If you don't want to be jury trial because you don't like the Kardashians, perfectly fine. But to bring her sex tape into this and be like, essentially you are less of a human being to me because I've seen you naked before. So I'm not going to be able to judge you objectively as a human being because I've seen you have sex unconsensually, allegedly. As in, like, the sex tape release was unconsensual, not the actual sexual act was unconsensual. I just want to make that very clear. I think that's disgusting. I just wanted to put it out there, honestly. So jury selection was very difficult because who doesn't know about the Kardashians? You know, and for a jury trial, they always look for people who just have no idea about the case and no idea about the people involved in the case, and that must have been very difficult. I have another theory, is that this could be a mistrial only because anytime they pick a jury, they can go back through their social media, they can go back through anything and be like, well, this person actually in 2012 liked a tweet about Blac Chyna, and then Blac Chyna could be like, well, it's a mistrial because the jury was clearly biased against me, and then that will lead to appeals, and I just feel like this can get very messy. That's why celebrity lawsuits are so messy. It's so difficult to pick a jury that is completely objective. So allegedly the Kardashians cancelled her show and gained financially from that, because obviously then you take those viewers back to your show. Blac Chyna was making $90,000 per episode, and she sold 3 cars and then slandered, allegedly, Tiger and Rob Kardashian. So clearly you can tell that she's got money issues, which could be another reason for the verdict, because you can clearly tell from past tweets that she has some financial issues due to having to sell the cars and publicly talking about her baby daddies to get money from them, when in reality they don't owe her the money, but she was maybe just like trying her luck just to see if she can publicly shame them into giving her more money. Maybe, you know, her career isn't going the way she wanted it to go, yada yada yada, whatever it is. So the financial struggles here also are a good indicator of why this lawsuit is happening. Just could be financials, you know, she needed the money from season 2 and she didn't get it. Blac Chyna said that the gun and charger incident was just a joke and that everyone knew it was a joke. A picture from that day also came out where Rob went out and he had a ripped t-shirt which showed that they were in some kind of a physical altercation. Blac Chyna and Rob a lot of times accused each other of cheating, which is a toxic cycle, but allegedly right before Rob released the nudity of Blac Chyna, she actually sent him a video of her having sex with someone else in their bed. Obviously doesn't excuse what he did, because what he did is a crime, what she did is just petty, and it's cheating and it isn't illegal. But you can tell there was a lot of toxicity between them, back and forth. But once again, she didn't commit a crime, he did. Revenge porn is a crime, cheating isn't a crime. Then we have Tokyo Toni, who is Blac Chyna's mum, being very unprofessional, going on Instagram Live and vowed to get the judge, said the Kardashians looked dead and made threats towards them, but then she kind of came back and said that she's a comedian and everything she says is a joke. But obviously when you are somewhat involved in a lawsuit and you're publicly talking about it, everything you say can be taken quite literally, you know, to mean what you didn't mean it to mean. So I just don't think that was a good move on the Blac Chyna kind of side of things. There was a text message from February 2017 where she trashed him, broke up with him, called him fat, said that she didn't want to have sex with him because he was fat, and said that she doesn't want to continue the relationship, which is proof for Rob and the Kardashians to say, well, she wanted to break up with me and didn't want anything to do with me, so why would she want the show to continue when it's called Rob and Chyna? It's about our relationship, but she clearly doesn't want the relationship. Kris was then asked, obviously because she was put on the stand, and she was asked about allowing the relationship after Tyga and Kylie Jenner incidents. Obviously, Tyga and Kylie Jenner get together, Blac Chyna threatens to kill Kylie Jenner in a text message that Kylie Jenner then on stand talks about, and Kris gets asked about why she then allowed a relationship between Blac Chyna and Rob to prosper, and she says just because she saw that Rob was happy, and that she just wanted the best for him, that she just thought that maybe she would give her another chance and just like see if things would, you know, she just felt like she didn't want to push Rob to the side. And it almost feels like, you know, Rob is already pushed to the side as is. He's the only sibling in the sibling pile, and he seems to be pushed to the side a lot. He doesn't get much love from the business side of things and just from the show side of things. He's not on like the recent show with Kardashians, like he's just not on there. He wasn't much in keeping up with the Kardashians, mainly towards the end. So I feel like maybe she just didn't want to make him feel unloved again and unwanted and like pushed to the side. So she was just like, go ahead, I hope it works out for you guys. So she wished the best for Rob and Chyna. Then obviously the revenge porn situation, apparently Blac Chyna got very emotional in court talking about it, which would make sense. Once again, linking back to, you know, Kim's going through it with the sex tape. So Blac Chyna, so I actually, now thinking about it, the fact that like Rob saw what Kim went through when that sex tape was released and then went ahead and did the same thing to Blac Chyna. So that's why she has a restraining order. Then Kylie was on stand day 2 and she was ill on day 1, so she wasn't in court because she was ill. I'm saying ill because I'm just trying to be petty, but she was ill on day 1, but she appeared on day 2. She talked about Tyga, the threats from Blac Chyna saying that she made some like more vague threats, just being like, yeah, I'll get Kylie, you know, trying to like just saying things like, you know, I'll beat her up when I see her, that kind of thing. Talked about her relationship with Blac Chyna and how she just kind of wanted, you know, she just wanted to get along with her, but it just didn't really work out. And that she actually allowed Blac Chyna and Rob to stay at her house when they were looking for a house. She'd let them stay in her like spare house that she had. So she was trying to mend the relationship between herself and Blac Chyna through that, but it just didn't really work out. Then we had Kim on stand talking about messages with E, which is obviously the network, and apparently there were a lot of things about like her show can't go on and things like that. And apparently she was using voice to text, so apparently whenever in messages it says her show can't continue, she was saying our show can't continue. So she was saying with everything going on with the violence and etc, our show can't go on if she's on set. So she was saying more so that rather than saying like her show can't go on, but that's just what Kim's saying. So apparently it's continually correcting it from our show to her show in text messages. It's getting so confusing. So apparently she was saying like our show can't continue if she's on set because Rob has one, well, there's a restraining order, and 2 because they get violent and it gets very toxic on set and I don't want to work in those conditions. So she was like, our show can't continue if she's on set, but it corrected to like her show can't continue if whatever happens. Yeah, so it sounded like she was trying to cancel her show, but she was really just saying I'll cancel our show if they continue to be on set together, which is kind of equally threatening to E. Like she's basically saying like, I'm not going to continue if she's here, and we bring you guys a lot of money. So Blac Chyna did technically have a case here, but it's very difficult. Kim says there was also another incident with Rob and Blac Chyna and some kind of a metal rod that has never been spoken about before, and it wasn't really elaborated on, so I don't know, but there was some kind of a metal rod incident. So an E executive testified as well and said that he had communicated with Kardashians about everything, but it didn't affect his decision going against season 2, and he was one that decided against season 2, and he said it was just because it obviously wasn't a hit. Like, that's it. He said, I had communications with the Kardashians, but it didn't affect my decision making. I just didn't think that it was worth it to continue with Rob and Chyna. So Rob Kardashian said that he never loved Blac Chyna on stand. That is what he said. I think that's a very weird statement to make, mainly because Kris already went on stand and said, you know, I saw him be so happy, like I didn't want to get in between them, yada yada. So then for Rob to get on stand and be like, I never loved her, is very petty. Met her at the worst point of his life, and that's why he thought he loved her, but he didn't. Pictures of the engagement were used to pitch the show. So when he had proposed to her, and they did a lot of like their special moments, all of that was used by Blac Chyna to pitch a show to E because she allegedly needed the money. Apparently he only proposed to her because of the pregnancy. Apparently she also did a lot of drugs which would make her more violent, and apparently he got security after the fight with her because he was scared for his well-being. Apparently Corey, Kris's boyfriend, broke up the fight, so Kris got the call, but then she sent Corey in to help out, and Corey went in, and apparently, you know, Blac Chyna was picking up chairs and throwing them at cars, etc., but none of the pictures or anything of that were shown. And apparently she said that she would kill him, which Corey apparently heard her say. Then Blac Chyna had a witness say that season 2 was never officially like in the making. Like apparently it never officially existed. They were just kind of preparing for it, and there were talks for it, but it never actually officially existed, which is so weird that Blac Chyna's witness literally went against everything she said. It's a guy called Mosley who worked at E, and he basically said like it never actually officially existed, which is so weird because the court asked for footage for season 2. So maybe they started filming it, but it never was like officially in the make. That is a very confusing bit to me. And it's just weird to me that they also had like a party for season 2. It's very weird. I don't know. And then a few days later, so I saw this on a BBC article, BBC News, Blac Chyna loses defamation case against Kardashian Jenners. The Kardashian Jenners have won a defamation case brought against them by Blac Chyna, the influencer, model, and former fiancé of Rob Kardashian. Chyna had claimed that TV stars had ruined her career by convincing TV bosses to cancel her show, Rob and Chyna. But the famous family came out of the case worth a reported 100 million, so it went from 300 million to 100 million, I don't know, victorious and with no damages awarded. A jury found on Monday that none of them had defamed Chyna, but they had acted in bad faith. The 4 defendants, Kim Kardashian, Kris Jenner, Khloe Kardashian, and Kylie Jenner, all took to the stand at various points during the 9-day trial at LA's Superior Courthouse. Rob and Chyna aired on the E! Network for one series in 2016, chronicling their life of the former couple as they prepared for the birth of their daughter. Chyna alleged that the show had subsequently, that was a bit of a word, been cancelled after Rob Kardashian's family falsely told TV bosses she had violently attacked him. Jurors found that the Kardashian Jenners were not justified in telling the makers of Rob and Chyna that Chyna abused their son and had parted Rob, but they found that it had no substantial effect on Chyna's contract or the show not being renewed, so no damages were awarded. So if the fault was completely not on the Kardashian Jenners, they would get damages paid based on just like having to hire lawyers, having to go to the court, etc. So they would have those costs taken care of by Chyna's side a lot of the time, because the jury thought that what they did was quite petty, but it didn't actually have enough of an effect to go through the lawsuit. Neither side got any damages. So they spent money on lawyers and on everything, and they're not going to get those costs back. But Chyna isn't going to get anything paid either. Like no damages, none of her lawyer fees are going to get paid, and she's not going to get the 100 million that she wanted. So this is quite interesting. It's an interesting... They are admitting that what they did was petty to tell the makers of the show that like there was abuse going on, but they didn't think that it's enough to go through the lawsuit. Executives from the E! Network testified that Rob and Chyna ended because the relationship ended, not because of any action taken by the Kardashian Jenners, which makes sense because the relationship did end. It was in text messages, and she had a restraining order against him. That's usually a significant ending to a relationship. When the verdict of the trial was read out, the celebrity family were in New York for the 2022 Met Gala, which is another mess. And that is that on that. That was a quick everything you need to know about the lawsuit. I tried to summarize it as quickly as possible, as concisely as possible, just to give you all the information so you don't have to go through 9 days of trial reading. Here it is for you guys. Subscribe with the bell, like, comment for engagement. I'll see you in my next one. Bye guys.